in for a very, very exciting game. Of course, that's enough of us talking about it. Let's dive on in and see who will be advancing to the grand finals. There's so much at stake in this one. These are going to be very important leads for both trainers. It's going to be something a little different, something I wasn't expecting to see, but Primarina Dragapult for Jiseok and Togekiss Urshifu for Santino.
Well, I said when looking at sort of the team preview, I want to see Togekiss and Urshifu from Santino, and that's what he's led with against the Primarina and Dragapult for Jiseok. And this is where things get a little bit interesting. Togekiss has that amazing ability to go for redirection, but Urshifu can apply a lot of pressure to something like the Dragapult, whereas at the same time, Primarina with any fairy type moves can apply so much damage to the Urshifu. So I think Togekiss is going to be critical here. Maybe if he wants to Dynamax, can go for something like a Max Starfall as well, try and pick up a KO against that Dragapult, or it can go for redirection and try and protect the Urshifu from any fairy type moves.
There's a lot of interesting decisions being made by Santino here, and this actually from Jiseok applies a lot of pressure and maybe makes these decisions way harder to make. So I'll be curious to see how these kind of land. It was definitely something different from Santino. We've seen him play a lot of these very aggressive turns where he just tries to carve out a lead turn one as soon as possible. And there's a lot of damage coming down from this Max Airstream, even with the Detect in play.
Exactly, Urshifu trying to play things defensively, but Max Airstream going to connect, break through the Detect and break a potential Focus Sash on that Pokemon. Of course, Jiseok also going to boost up the speed in his side of the field, and that's something that can be so critical. Dazzling Gleam actually coming out here from the Primarina, so redirection wouldn't have helped out that Urshifu at all, so a good protect there, as that would have very likely picked up a KO against Urshifu. As Togekiss goes for Yawn. This is something we saw a lot at the beginning of the metagame, and it's kind of dwindled out as people want to go for a more offensive Togekiss, you know, trying to run the boosted critical hit ratio with Scope Lens and Super Luck, but actually going for Yawn, really trying to slow things down a pace and force Jiseok to make some switches.
I think Yawn's one of the more interesting moves in the format because it puts your opponent in such a difficult position. They know that they're going to go to sleep at the end of the turn, and they have to make a decision, and a lot of people, I don't want to say struggle with this, but kind of back and forth in this one, go for the Yawn and just have to switch out. They don't want to go to sleep. They don't want to let that happen. So they really mix it around a lot here. It looks like Santino's actually completely ignored some of the big things on his team, and this Primarina stayed in while the Yawn is taking effect. So these Max Airstreams are going to land. They are going to hurt a lot and obviously boost the speeds, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, nice redirection from the Togekiss there. If the Max Airstream had gone into that Rillaboom, it would certainly not have appreciated. So just supporting the switch in there for Santino as Dazzling Gleam comes out from Jiseok's Primarina there. Does manage to pick up the KO against the Togekiss. That is now going to be removed from the field, but Rillaboom has got in relatively freely, and this puts Santino in a position where he can apply a lot of pressure to the Primarina. But of course, we know there's Max Airstreams coming out from that Dragapult, and the speed is going up on that side of the field. So that's something that Rillaboom has to watch out for, particularly as its redirectional Pokemon partner has now been KO'd.
It's one of those things where this Colossal's in a very interesting position. It's nice to see that he's bought it. It's been a focal point of his team, and definitely kind of keen to see him play around this one. It looks like he's going after the Primarina now it's asleep, maybe feeling like he's just going to be able to deal with the rest of the team as is, and the Primarina's been the focus of everything he's done this turn. He's kept himself safe from it for a bit, he's made sure it goes to sleep with Yawn, and he's just able to kind of keep playing around it. So, you know, looks like he feels confident in Colossal once he gets rid of that, and that's something that I think is interesting to see that's how he's assessed the matchup, and that's how he's going to play. His Dynamax is going to be a lot later, in this case the Gigantamax, but don't forget he's already down in the speed to the Airstream. He doesn't have immediate access to Steam Engine.
Exactly. If he doesn't have the setup, the Colossal's not going to be as optimal as we've seen it previously. But one thing that Rillaboom can still do to help things out is KO that Primarina with the Grassy Glide. Straight up KO straight into the Water-type Pokemon as Dragapult goes for that Max Phantasm. Does go straight into the Rillaboom. Is enough to pick up the KO, and I think critically will be lowering the defense of that Colossal going forward, something that Santino does have to remember. But of course, Colossal's still a Pokemon that has really unique typing and is going to be able to deal out a lot of phenomenal damage. Going for that G-Max Volcalith, I really like this play because you can target down into that Dragapult, do a decent chunk of damage. Yeah, you're not going anywhere near a KO range, but you are setting those rocks about the field, and we've seen time and time again how that residual damage can start picking up, and if Santino wants to play things maybe a little bit more defensively, this can help him out. But I think the one thing he has to worry about is he's got that Urshifu coming back in. Its Focus Sash is broken. Yes, it can apply some pressure to maybe the Dragapult, but when you're looking at sort of HP, Jiseok's team is looking a lot healthier.
This is really a tough game for the Colossal to play. Now the Clefairy's in, providing so many support options for this Dragapult, keeping it safe as well as possible. But, I mean, there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to do the Steam Engine Weakness Policy turn that was so effective in that game that we saw earlier today. So he looks like he's kind of just ignoring that and just saying, you know what, I love Colossal when it gets it set up, but right now I'm not even feeling it. I'm not even worried about it, and I'm just going to play my own game. That said, the Clefairy kind of baiting it out, saying, okay, well, if you're going to try and be careful, I'm going to punish you for it, and is actually not going to be able to land any significant damage this turn. Oh,
well,
wait, no, never mind.
Going to come out. Yeah, going to come out, connect into that Clefairy. Of course, the ability there of the Urshifu with Unseen Fist going to be able to break through that Protect. So poor Clefairy kind of sitting on the field trying its best. But you can really see the bulk of that Pokemon doesn't even do 50%. As Colossal is able to follow up, though, with another G-Max Volcanith. Really not going to deal too much. Of course, going through that Protect, a little bit of damage. But I think critically you can see, even in that Phantom Force turn, more damage is being done by those rocks.
Yeah, I mean, look at the rocks damage on the Clefairy. That makes it so manageable. And I like the Surging Strikes Clefairy. I thought there was an Aquajet trying to play around the Follow Me. But this Clefairy definitely can't take something like more Surging Strikes. And with that moving before the Colossal, because there's no Steam Engine boost. I mean, yeah, there's the booster speed to Dragapult, but Dragapult's guaranteed to appear really early because of this Phantom Force. And I think a lot riding right now on this Phantom Force getting a huge knockout here.
Exactly, Dragapult coming in with the Phantom Force, not actually able to pick up the KO against that Urshifu. As Urshifu able to go with that Surging Strikes once again. Such an amazing animation, this one here, connecting into that Clefairy. We already saw from the damage that was previously taken, it's not going to be able to hang on, and it only takes 2 to KO the little fairy Pokemon there. The Colossal, though, going to be in another position to go for its third max move, another G-Max Volcanith. This time going to target into the Dragapult that has reappeared and pick up a really strong KO. So sometimes it goes that way, you know. It looked like Jiseok had a really nice advantage at one point, you know, Santino down to these 2 lost Pokemon and the Urshifu having its Focus Sash broken, but just in the matter of one turn, Santino's been able to switch right back onto the offensive, apply a lot of pressure and pick up 2 KOs, leaving Jiseok down to bring in his own Urshifu.
The Urshifu is going to be kind of up against it, right? Struggling to... You've got to be careful. I mean, yes, Surging Strikes is going to do a lot of damage, and that's kind of one way around it, but you're against an opposing Urshifu as well. It's a tough one. It really is, and I think that this Colossal has put itself in quite a good position, even without the classic Steam Engine, along with weakness policies so far. That said, there's no redirection on the field now, so if you're the Colossal, you're thinking, all right, we're quids in here, lads. We can, you know, try and set that up. And that Colossal should just be able to kind of sweep through the end of the game, right? It's just got to deal with an Urshifu, which, don't get me wrong, the sun's up, so the Surging Strikes are still going to hurt a lot, but they are at least a little bit reduced. But there's a good chance you don't even give him that option. It looks like Santino changing his mind a little bit at the last minute, but his Urshifu will be moving first. And yeah, there's no way that the Urshifu can knock out both Pokemon over on Santino's side.
No, it can try its best. I mean, it's going for the Surging Strikes here. So again, we have got that Rapid Strike style Urshifu. Targeting down to the Urshifu on Santino's side is going to be able to pick up the KO against it. But, you know, it's not one of those moves that third one redirects onto the Colossal, for example. And you wouldn't really want it to anyway, at the risk of activating all of those boosts. Colossal going to go for that Solar Beam, of course, going to absorb up all the sunlight and apply pressure on the next turn to this Urshifu that, you know, taking damage from the rocks, being the water type variant, does not want to be taking Solar Beam, particularly with grassy terrain in the field as well. Like, everything is just looking so good for this Colossal right now, and it didn't even get its boosts.
Right, I mean, the Colossal's probably feeling pretty good about its chances. And playing a game without boosts is actually pretty impressive. It's going to be up to the Surging Strikes to try and get it done, which, yeah, that's going to tidy that one up. No doubt on that one. I think playing it safe with the Solar Beam, probably not the way to go in that one. It only needed one hit. And I kind of wasn't expecting the Solar Beam at the end of that game, right? Because you weren't able to use it immediately, and that's a problem, right? That's certainly an issue. So Jiseok takes a lead in this set, and that's something that you know, we haven't actually seen Santino have to fight back from in this one.
So it goes that way sometimes, and I'm going to be honest, I kind of forgot that the Colossal didn't have all its boosts, because we so rarely see it out of that kind of boost synergy scenario, and obviously the speed tiers were working against it then. It didn't have its max speed from the Steam engine, so the Urshifu was able to go first, and that was something that, you know, just caught me a little bit of surprise there, because Colossal once again looking so strong, but the two-chargeness, I want to say, of the Solar Beam definitely causes a few problems for it, where it can't move on that one turn where it was able to, leaving the Urshifu free to pick up a solid KO against it. And, you know, Colossal doesn't want to take any water type moves. It wants to take one little one to activate all of its boosts, but then that's enough. It's had enough water.
Yeah, not setting that up was kind of a bold play towards the end from Santino. But let's head into game 2 and see if he can bounce back. He did have to adapt his strategy from what we've seen earlier in the day, and it wouldn't shock me to see if he just kind of defaults back to it. It looks like the same lead from Jiseok, very, very kind of confident in that lead. And there is going to be a change from Santino, showing his team has multiple options. That Yawn was definitely a slower play than we've seen from him throughout the course of this tournament. So mixing it up there, yeah, he got rid of the Primarina, but he was still kind of a little bit behind the pace.
I mean, I want to address the lead that Santino has led out here. Such a great adjustment. You've got the Togekiss applying a lot of pressure to the Dragapult, and the Rillaboom applying so much pressure to the Primarina. And I think Santino really has a pick of the bunch here about who he wants to Dynamax. You know, Togekiss going for something like Max Starfall will be a lot of pressure to that Dragapult if Jiseok maybe wants to Dynamax the Dragapult and apply a lot of pressure. But actually, no offensive turns coming out from turn 1 here. Going to be the Protect on the Dragapult, and actually a double there from Jiseok, predicting maybe the Fake Out coming out from the Rillaboom. You have to Protect against it. Togekiss would be free otherwise to go for a lot of damage, but actually passive plays all round. There's going to be the Follow Me from that Togekiss as well, as Rillaboom tries to go for the U-turn, but thanks to all of the protects, is unable to leave the field safely.
Both trainers kind of scouting out each other a little bit here and just seeing what they can do. Just trying to, I don't think, make a mistake early on. You don't want to fall foul of something that's caused so many problems, and being defensive just makes so much sense from Jiseok there. You've got a Fake Out on the field, you've got the Yawn as well. Just buy a little time, see what's going to happen, and let it play out. So I like that play from Jiseok a lot. I think Santino definitely trying to reposition his board. I think the U-turn is a very clear indicator of that he's not happy with how this one goes. But Jiseok looks like he's going to be the first one to fire out the Dynamax here and just try and get himself in another really solid position. So it is the Dragapult once again. And the Dragapult, those max airstreams were actually rather problematic, I think, in game number 1. An undervalued piece of kind of play that worked out for him in the long run.
Yeah, Dynamax Dragapult so strong, and those max airstreams something that Rillaboom has to watch out for, but thankfully its partner Togekiss going to be able to redirect those away with the Follow Me. Max airstream of course coming out. The other thing you have to worry about though is this Rillaboom against the Primarina, and whether it's going to stay on the field or maybe try and target down into the Primarina with a big grass type attack. Speeds, of course, going up on Jiseok's side. You know, Dragapult's already speedy, but you want to maybe try and put your Primarina in a great position as well. And it goes straight for the Dazzling Gleam. Does so much damage thanks to that Life Orb against both of Santino's Pokemon. Over 50% on the pair of them. And Rillaboom actually deciding, hey, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go right back into my Pokeball. Goes for that U-turn thanks to no Protect. Able to go for it this time. And it gives Santino the option to now switch up his ball position and bring that Urshifu back into the fray.
Curious that he U-turns there rather than a grass type move, as you mentioned. Maybe expecting Jiseok to be a little more defensive with the Primarina, maybe switch it around after what happened to it last game. So he kind of doesn't get the damage down that he wants. And that Togekiss, between the Dazzling Gleam and the Max Airstream, taking a lot of damage. That's something that can't be undervalued and can't be underrated. So it can only buy so much time with these kind of redirection turns, right? I mean, particularly if you're taking Dazzling Gleam on the side as well, you are going to fall kind of quickly to something like this Primarina. Togekiss, though, once again, Follow Meing while there's a Detect on the field. Definitely just trying to pull those max Airstreams away from the Detect, making sure that, obviously, Airstream would do damage through the Detect. So, yeah, you want to keep the Focus Sash in play as long as possible. That was revealed a little bit earlier. So, very smart, even though the turn is overly defensive, I think, from Santino. But it could pay off in the long run.
I mean, we saw the exact same turn last game where Primarina went for Dazzling Gleam, Max Airstream from the Dragapult, but like you mentioned, Urshifu had its Focus Sash broken by the Max Airstream. So the adjustment here by Santino, yes, you are protecting your Urshifu from that Dazzling Gleam, and you're sacking your Togekiss, but I think it's actually for high reward because you now get to bring in your Colossal. There's no redirection on Jiseok's team, and yes, he's very, very speedy, so you kind of need to get some speed on your side of the field, and Colossal is the Pokemon that has the ability to do that. Quite literally, it has Steam Engine ability, and the Urshifu can go for something like an Aqua Jet, proc that ability, proc the weakness policy, and then suddenly the board completely flips around to Santino's advantage.
If this is probably a really good turn for him to land that as well, because the max airstream boosts are putting Jiseok in a really good position. You can avoid all of those boosts by playing through the Aqua Jet. There's no redirection on the field right now in the form of Clefairy or a Togekiss or an Amoonguss or anything like that. So this is the turn where you need to switch things around very, very quickly, I think, if you're Santino, because you're already down a Pokemon. And we've seen just how potent this team can be with the Colossal. That said, attacking into protects is not what you want to do, and that's something that he looks to have done this turn. He's obviously racking up the damage. I mean, the Aqua Jet still hurts, even though it's Steam Engine and weakness policy, so it's going to add up, but he needs to start getting knockouts with this Colossal. This is what his team is built and focused around. These need to be important, and this Mercs Phantasm not going into the Colossal, very, very good for Santino. Buys him a lot of time, gives him a little bit of breathing room.
100%, and I mean that's something you touched on as well with the Aqua Jet doing so much damage. Colossal gonna be going for the max overgrowth into the Premium Arena that has quite wisely protected. Gonna be taking it down to over 50%, but the targeting there, if it maybe gone into something like the Dragapult, could have been able to deal out a lot more damage. But I feel like with a Pokemon like Urshifu that is a lot more offensive, you know, you really want to boost up its attack and have it a prominent threat on the field. Something like an Aqua Jet, particularly with the same type of attack bonus, is going to hurt. A lot of the time you see that Colossal synergy with a Pokemon like the Dragapult that, you know, isn't going to get any additional boost from using Surf and maybe isn't the most offensively trained. You know, you see it often with things like Light Screen and Ally Switch on it as well. So the damage is a lot less onto your Colossal.
Right, the Colossal being able to be kept safe is key here. Dragapult's out of its Dynamax though, so its offensive prowess is a little more limited. I say that as Dragon Dance lands a really good KO on this Urshifu, and this game is so much focus on Colossal right now.
Yeah, well, Colossal going to go for that G-Max Volcalith. This time going to be able to connect into the Premium Arena and set those rocks out onto the field once again. And that residual damage is just going to chip away at Jiseok's team. I think, like you said, you know, the Droopy's there being able to pick up the KO with those Dragon Dance does just show that Dragapult is such a prominently offensive Pokemon in and out of Dynamax. It can still really cause a lot of havoc on the team. And Colossal, you know, thankfully having the benefits of that grassy terrain pushing it to above 50%, but it's only really been able to use 2 of its max moves. Only really 1 when you think about it. The first one went through into the Protect. It's only got 1 more opportunity to deal out a lot of damage with this extra HP bulk. And once the Dynamax turns it over, it's going to be in a really dangerous position. I think bringing in Rillaboom here now, we can get that immediate, you know, grassy glide off. That could be advantageous. But again, Clefairy's on the field, and it's a tricksy little Pokemon too.
Clefairy's going to have to do a lot, and we've seen it's got Protect. It can definitely buy time in that regard. So it looks like this one's going to be very, very close. What happens with this Colossal in this turn is key to the whole state of this game. If Colossal gets to attack and get a knockout, I think this game actually becomes pretty much dead even. I think if Colossal wastes its last turn of the Dynamax here and doesn't get either a knockout or adequate setup for the end of the game, it's certainly going to be different. Clefairy, though, no Protect. It's focused on keeping the Dragapult safe, which I think is important, but it is going to be eating a number of big attacks.
Yeah, Grassy Glide coming out and doing a huge amount of damage into that Clefairy. Dragapult going to go for that Phantom Force and disappear to reappear in the following turn, and leaving poor Clefairy to take this max flare from the Colossal. Going to be dealing a good amount of damage, enough actually to pick up that solid KO against Clefairy, and I think critically set up the Sun as well. You know, Santino got caught out in game 1 with the whole Solar Beam, having to take the 2 turns of charge, but with the Sun in effect, it can be a 1-turn move. And you know, even though he doesn't have to worry so much about some of the Pokemon on Jiseok's team with that, it just still gives him the option.
That's pretty much what he needed, I think, in that turn, was to complete. He's gone through every single max move and is able to try and fight back. And now, as you importantly mentioned, he has the Sun, which means it really comes down to one thing. Can this Dragapult get the knockout with Phantom Force? We knew that even after the Steam Engine boost, the Dragapult, because of those 2 max airstreams earlier in the game, is still moving first. So if the Colossal, after the earlier max Phantasm, can take it, then he's going to be able to knock out this Urshifu, because he'll have access to the big attack. The Urshifu though, Aqua Jetting doesn't even it doesn't even matter. Assuming this Phantom Force has gone that way, this game's gonna be close. There's also Grassy Glide. That's not gonna get the knockout, of course. Oh, don't forget we've got the Volcalith coming through, so the targeting on the Phantom Force so essential here.
Oh, gonna go down into that Rillaboom. So the Colossal actually able to hang on thanks to the sun. Gonna be able to go for the Heat Wave. It actually misses against one of the Pokemon. Is gonna be able to take that on the Dragapult, however. But like you mentioned, the rocks, that's gonna be able to pick up the KO against the Urshifu anyway.
Oh, I think of the Phantom Force, so I didn't think, you know, with the sun up, Aqua Jet was going to be able to get there. And this Colossal hanging on is, I can't understate how huge that one is. The fact that it's able to deal with the Urshifu, you know, it didn't actually fire back with the Solar Beam that we were talking about. The Heat Wave, a really smart play there by Santino, knowing the ins and outs of this team. Actually didn't matter that it missed the Urshifu. It hit the Dragapult, it brought the Dragapult very, very low. And honestly, I mean, the Dragapult to deal, I mean, Dragon Darts is an option here, but, you know, Jiseok just says, no, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to try and get into that end game. Let's go to game 3. So, ooh, what an end game with that Aqua Jet not getting there. And kind of, yeah, Colossal was easily taken out by a water type move in the previous game. But the sun from the Max Flare allowed Santino to level up this set 1-on-1. There's a whole lot to process in what was going on in the end of that set, but, you know, Jiseok threw in the towel there, knew that if there was a single protect, the Volcalith Rocks would just get him in the end. So, really tough, and you know, as long as the Rillaboom protects, hey, Rillaboom protects his turn, doesn't get caught by Dragon Darts, and then can just get you with Grassy Glide at some point. There was too much going on, and it's 1-on-1 in our winners finals. That was a crazy endgame, I'm sorry. It was a lot.
Oh, 100%. It was so explosive towards the end and such clutch survivals as well, particularly on that Colossal. And I think that was the thing that really shocked me with that game, because game 1 Colossal, like you said, got KO'd so easily by the Aqua Jet. So it comes into game 2 and sort of faces down a similar scenario and goes, look what you made me do. I'm going to set up that Max Flare. I'm going to get the sun. So that your Aqua Jet is not going to be able to pick up the KO. So he learned from game 1, was able to adjust and storm through into a game 3, like winners finals, go into a game 3. That's the kind of action we want to see, and I don't want to wait any longer. Let's jump right into it and see who's going to be advancing into the grand finals and who's going to be dropping down into the losers bracket. This is so intense here, Adam. I'm so looking forward to seeing how they're going to be able to adjust and whether Colossal is going to be able to throw out any more surprises. Primarina and Dragapult coming out for Jiseok, and on Santino's side there is the Rillaboom and the Togekiss once again.
Yeah, the lead from game 2 probably feeling a lot better, I think, for both trainers. Even though Jiseok lost it, I mean, he probably feels fine playing into this lead. Maybe not going as defensive on this turn, making sure that he's able to do the best job he can with it. And I like this a lot more from Santino, just playing a little more aggressively with that Rillaboom. I mean, he spent a lot of time working through that Primarina last time. He has an answer to it, so why not use it, right? Like, why not try and get that knockout as early as possible? It does look like though, Jiseok just sticking to what got him through game 1 and got him super close in game number 2. Just saying, alright, well, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to get my Airstream up and make my Dragapult a threat. Those 2 max Airstream boosts from early in the game were key to keeping him in it against that Steam Engine later on.
Yeah, Dragapult was really a key piece for Jiseok there, and it's good to see him Dynamax it up again. Togekiss gonna go for that Follow Me, just protect the Rillaboom in the face of that max Airstream. Rillaboom, however, gonna go for the Grassy Glide, so not trying to U-turn out in this particular game, but gonna connect onto the protect of the Primarina, as Dragapult actually goes for the max Phantasm, going straight down into Togekiss, does just over 50%, but I think critically just trying to lower those defense stats as well, so a follow-up move from the Dragapult is going to be dealing even more damage. And ultimately, when you're facing down against Rillaboom and Togekiss and you're a Dragapult, you don't need the speed right away. You're already the fastest thing on the field. Maybe try and inflict a penalty against a Nulla stat, and then you can always max Airstream after the defense has been dropped.
So what I actually kind of like that this Togekiss is doing is basically, I don't want to say wasting, I think that's unfair, but buying time while this Dragapult is on the field, right? So the Dragapult is spending so long attacking into Follow Me's. Yeah, it's getting some really cool boosts down, it's doing really well, but it's actually just, you know, that's now 2 turns of this Dragapult's Dynamax where it's not able to land the attacks that it wants to. I love the pressure as well that's been brought here, and my word, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, poor Clefairy jumping into the action, but having to take a heavy hit for its efforts. Togekiss as well going to be KO'd as Clefairy gets the speed boost from that max Airstream as well as Dragapult. But Santino will be losing the Togekiss once again pretty early on. It really is kind of self-sacrificing itself here for that Rillaboom. And Dragapult, once again, looking really, really strong. It hasn't really had any damage inflicted on it at all. And now that it's got the max airstream up as well, it's going to be really, really fast. It doesn't worry about taking a Grassy Glide. And Clefairy's always there as well to use Follow Me and try and draw that away. And Colossal now going to join the fray, but Colossal is not next to one of the Pokemon that can activate all of its boosts.
Nope, it's in a precarious position right now where it's not going to have its weakness policy, it's not going to have its steam engine, and he just has to be, I think, smart about how he plays this turn. This is the last turn as well of the Dynamax from Dragapult, so there's a lot of damage coming down, and he's got a couple of nice boosts. I like the Rillaboom leaving the field here. I think getting rid of that defense drop from the earlier Max Phantasm, very, very helpful, and there's only so much you can do against the potential Max Airstream, so without the redirection, Rillaboom leaves. It does set up quite nicely for a potential follow-up turn, obviously, with the Urshifu. But Colossal's not even waiting for Urshifu to boost it. It's saying, you know what, I want to start getting my damage back down now, even before Steam Engine weakness policy has gone up.
I like this play by Santino, though, because you're bringing in the Urshifu, and Clefairy's not really a powerhouse you have to worry about, so you're not going to worry about your Focus Sash being broken and KO'd, even if Dragapult does target down into that slot, which it does. You know, that's not even going to take it down to its Focus Sash, but Urshifu's now critically on the field to Aqua Jet on the next turn, but if you're Santino, you need to try and find a way to get rid of that Clefairy so it can't just follow me away. So going for the G-Max Volcalith is a good idea to target down, but of course that little Clefairy did actually protect, so this won't be getting the KO, and now Santino's in that awkward position going into this next turn where Clefairy's on the field. It can cause a lot of problems for his strategy.
Yeah, Clefairy's going to be able to slow down that potential Steam Engine weakness policy really, really effectively. And a lot going on. I mean, obviously Santino knows its moveset, its open team sheet, so that's kind of key. And this Clefairy actually taking a good chunk of damage from the Volcalith rocks from a little bit earlier. Importantly, though, Dragapult's Dynamax is over. It only got one speed boost this time from the Airstreams. Don't forget in Game 2 it had 2. So it was able to outspeed the Colossal even after Steam Engine. And I'd be curious to know if one gives you the numbers to get there. It's going to be really, really close. Urshifu, though, playing it safe, just saying, you know what, still a little worried about the Clefairy. As Clefairy does follow me, definitely trying to redirect those Aqua Jets. And we'll see, everything once again relies on this Colossal endgame.
Yeah, I really like this play here by Santino, knowing that Clefairy can just follow me away in Aqua Jet, and you don't want to have your Urshifu going down to anything, and the Detect really does preserve it going into the next turn, because, you know, like you said, there's no more Dynamax on Jiseok's team. There's no way for him to break through the Protect and KO that Urshifu, but Santino has a way to KO that Clefairy with that Max Flare. Going to be bringing the Sun as well, setting up for that endgame against the Water-type Pokemon on Jiseok's team, can go for those powerful Solar Beams, all Max Overgrowths if he decides to bring one of them in now. But Urshifu's sitting in a position where it can now go for that Aqua Jet, and Colossal's going to be in a phenomenal position to start picking up some KOs. One thing you've got to worry about, though, is, of course, the damage that Aqua Jet can do to the Colossal, which is why setting the Sun up is a really great move for Santino. You're going to reduce that damage.
If there's 2 Aqua Jets on the field here, things can get really interesting. It looks like the Urshifu will be landing once again, and this is actually a really tough decision for Jiseok to make, right? If he doesn't attack the Colossal, then Santino can set it up, right? He can set up the Steam Engine weakness policy, and that, you know, could just win him the game. So if he does that and he's the second Aqua Jet, as you mentioned, it's already taken a good amount of damage. It's going to be really, really close. But you don't want to be the one to set up the Steam Engine weakness policy looking for that knockout as the second Aqua Jet if the first Aqua Jet doesn't come through. So I'll be curious to see how this I'm a little tense for both players.
Yeah, this is definitely a critical turn in the game. Urshifu going to go for the close combat into the opposing Urshifu, while Dragapult does just go for the Protect. So plays it safe for this particular turn, but I want to know what the Urshifu is going to do on Jiseok's team. It's going to be going for those Surging Strikes, and I much prefer this play to the Aqua Jet, but it's only going to work if you can pick up the actual KO against it. If you leave this Colossal on the field at the end of this, you're going to be in trouble.
It's so close. I think it might get it. Those critical hits coming through. I didn't figure it out, but yeah, there's the knockout. So I prefer that play. The first one looked like it did a little less damage, and I was getting a bit worried there.
Yeah.
But Surging Strike's very, very wise. That said, I mean, don't forget, you've now got a Dragapult kind of taking this damage from the Volcalith rocks. And then you got the Rillaboom to come in, which is interesting. I mean, Rillaboom could just be able to kind of clean this one up, right? And just say, well, I've got Grassy Glide just going to start Grassy Glide and stuff and taking knockouts that way. These Volcanic rocks really, really hurt him. The grassy terrain does not make up for the damage that they do. And it's so essentially, the grass disappears just as Santino brings Rillaboom back in. That's so well timed.
Oh, yeah, that is perfect timing for Santino. Grassy terrain goes away, but hey, let's bring it back with the Rillaboom. And as you said, Rillaboom's now in a prime position to go for those grassy glides. And the Pokemon that Jiseok's got, you know, the Urshifu and the Primarina are not going to appreciate that at all, particularly with the depleted health of that Urshifu. Dragapult, however, might be in a slightly better position to be taking that damage, but with the choice band on that Rillaboom, it's still going to really pack a punch, particularly as there's no Intimidate, there's no stats dropped here, grassy terrain's in effect. It's looking to be so strong. It's a full health Rillaboom. Dragapult having that flying type move, you know, it's great when it's in the Dynamax, it can execute it straight away. But something like a Fly, which is the 2-charge move, can put it in a precarious position where its partner Pokemon is still going to be a target. Aqua Jet coming out into Santino's Urshifu, and you can see Grassy Glide does so much, even though it's not very effective with a critical hit. Doesn't quite pick up the KO though, so Dragapult able to go for this Dragon Dart. Going to connect into the Rillaboom, do a little bit of damage, but it's really not enough to alleviate it as a threat. But Urshifu, however, has been KO'd, and Santino now has this Rillaboom here on the field. Dragapult's being KO'd by the rock set up by Colossal previously, and facing down against 2 Water-type Pokemon locked into Grassy Glide, it looks really good here for the Rillaboom.
Yeah, Rillaboom's got to be feeling pretty peachy about its situation. It's got the terrain to recover a little bit, but that critical hit, the perfect time for Santino. Yes, Grassy Glide is not very effective, but it does enough damage to mean that the last turn of those Volcalith rocks is going to be enough for the knockout. Maybe a little bit of getting what he needs and the right turn there, but that's sometimes just how it goes, and that is putting him in such a good position, as you mentioned. 2 water types versus a choice band, Grassy Glide, Rillaboom. Yeah, he's feeling pretty good with obviously grassy terrain, so the damage is crazy as well. Not only priority, you know, just making sure he targets correctly, making sure he never attacks into a protect or detect is going to be key here. But I'd say even though he's down a couple Pokemon, there's not much for at least a few turns until this grassy terrain ends that can stop this Rillaboom. We see him back and forth on where he's going to target as well, and if he makes the right calls, he's going to be punching a ticket to Grand Finals. A lot is on Jiseok to play the mind game and beat him there. No protects on this turn though.
Ooh, yeah, gonna go straight into that Urshifu, and like you said, it's kind of that 50-50 because both of Jiseok's Pokemon can protect, and if you keep calling the wrong one, because you can only target one Pokemon, you're gonna be in trouble. Blizzard comes out from the Primarina but avoids the Rillaboom, and that really was Jiseok's only way to come back into it. Maybe connecting a Blizzard, maybe getting a freeze on that Rillaboom, and then Primarina could just try chipping away at it, but to no avail. The Rillaboom is going to be able to just click that Grassy Glide. Santino doesn't have to roll a dice here to pick its target. There's only the Primarina left on the field, and depending on how much damage this is going to be dealing, we don't even know. We don't even get to see the Oko on there. Santino advances. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Jiseok